Hi friends, this is Mohammed Jibran and welcome to our HTML tutorials. In this video, I will be explaining you about the tables in HTML. I will show you how to create and customize the tables. Well, there are many pros and cons for using tables in a web page, but still as a web developer, you should know about the tables. So before moving forward, let me show you something about a piece of software known as Notepad++. Okay, just similar to your any other text editor as Notepad, but it will identify your different types of files, that's HTML, PHP, ASPX. So it will be good if you have this software like this. Okay, so you download it from here, that's notepad++.org. After downloading and installing it, you'll be getting a icon like this. Okay, just double click it, and when it starts, here is your new file. So first of all, I'm going to save this file as an table.html. okay, then as you all know, HTML file should begin from HTML. Okay, and after that you have the head opening tag and the head closing tag. Then you have the body opening and body closing. You see why I use this text editor? This is because this highlighting, it helps you a lot. If you are going wrong somewhere, it will help you to correct your mistakes. So in the body, I want a table. So actually a table is nothing but it's the division of rows in columns. Okay, so what you do in a table, you divide one single row into different number of columns depending on your need. So that's what we are going to do over here. We are going to create a table and then we have to divide it in rows. After that we'll divide that in columns. So our table will start with the table and this will end with a table, right? Now in the table, as I told you, you have the rows. So a row starts with tr and this will end your row. When you start a row, you should end a row. Okay, then in a row you have columns. Okay, so td means column. Okay, so this is your first column in the first row, right? So in that I'll say column number 1. So let me have a look how my web page is looking till now. So before previewing it, save it, just click over here, then click run and launch in whatever your favorite browser is. I'll go for Chrome and see, this is column 1. But how can you see that it's a table? Let me add one more column into it and I will say it's column number 2. Similarly 3, 4, 5. I want 5 columns. It's 3, 4 and 5. Now save it, go to your browser, refresh your page, see column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. And if you want another row, so you have to do the same thing. To create a start a row, you have to end a row. In that row you have to say, let me just copy paste, I don't like typing always. It's column 1 again, similarly, right? Just save it, browser, refresh. Now let me show you that we are really working on different rows. Let me say border equals 1. Now save it, refresh it. You see, now you can see it's column number 1, column number 2, column number 3, 4 and 5, right? So likewise you can add a multiple number of rows if you want and the columns. And there is one more thing which you need to know is the table or the column headers, right? Suppose if I write, I want to give the headers, like one header for the name, second header or the second column will be for the roll numbers of the student. So for that I will require this th. This will means the table heading. I'll say heading 1. Okay, copy it, 2, 3. Okay, so these are my 5 column headings. Let me just number them correctly, 4 and 5. Okay, so these headings should be above the line, one more line, and all the data will be in the next line. So that's what I did. So this is my first line, which will have the heading 1 to 5. In my second row I'll have column 1 to 5. In my third row I'll have column with the value saying column 1. So just save it to browser, refresh it. See, these are your table headings, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. So likewise you can add table body, table footer. There are so many commands or so many ways you can customize your table, but I hope this is enough for a basic table. So as I told you earlier, there are many pros and cons for using tables. Well, actually a good web developer or a good designer will never use tables, because it's suggested by most of the good designers not to use tables. Instead we use something known as divs, which looks like this: div begins, div ends. Oops, div ends. Right? In this you can say this is an div or a division, whatever you say. Right? Just save it, go to your browser, refresh it. Okay, this is your div. So you can say a div may be this total table. The first is, suppose if I want to draw this table using this divs, then this whole table will be one div, single div. Then in that div I will define different divs like this, like this, 5 divs. So let's write it. This is the div. In that div I will have another div. Okay, I will say heading 1. Okay, so browser, this is my heading 1. This is my first div, then second div, and over here, right, I'll say heading 2. Save, refresh. You see what happened over here is my next div came just next to the previous div, which is not the correct way. I want my heading 2 to be just adjacent to my heading 1. So for that I will say float equals right. Okay, so what I am doing, I am telling my first div to take the second div which is next to it as the right div. Okay, it should take the next div on its right side. So just go, refresh it. It's saved. Hi friends, this is Mohammed Jibran and welcome to our HTML tutorials. In this video I will be explaining you about the tables in HTML. I will show you how to create and customize the tables in an HTML page. Well, there are many pros and cons of using tables in a web page, but still as a web developer you should know about using a table. So as we move forward we are learning more stuff. So before watching our new tutorial, I just wanted you to download one piece of software, that's Notepad++. For that you just go to Google and just Google for it, Notepad++. This will take you to the link. So click over here and you will have your another text editor which will look like this. Okay, this is exactly like your Notepad. If you are good with that, no problem to download it, but it is advisable to use this one because it makes your work a bit easier. So after opening a file, let me just save it as table.html. Okay, now as you all know, web page should begin and end with a HTML tag. then you have a head, then you have a closing head, then you have body closing. Right, now in the body I want to define a table. So what actually is a table? The table is the division of rows in number of columns. What do you do? Actually, you draw a row, then you divide that row into number of columns according to your need. So that's what we are going to do over here. First I'm going to say that I want a table. So a table begins with the table, and I want to end my table. As you all know, whatever starts should end. So I will say I want to create a row, that's tr. Okay, so now tr ends over here. Now in my tr or in my row I want a column, so this td will define my column. Right, then I will write whatever I want, column 1. Okay, now just save it and go to run. Now you can launch this page in any of the website, any of the browser. I'll go for Chrome. You see there is your column number 1. Now next I will just try to draw some more columns, maybe 5 of them. So 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now save it again, browser, refresh. See, now your columns are there. But how you know that they are different columns or rows divided into columns? For that I will say border equals 1. I'm defining the border of my table whose length will be of the size 1. Right, just save it, go to browser, refresh it. You see my single row, that's this is my single row, has been divided into 5 columns. Right, and suppose if I want to add another row to it. Okay, I will again say row, then in that row I will add the columns. Column, I'll say column at row 2. Fine, so I will add all of them. I will save my page, I'll refresh it. See my new row, this is my new row with the columns, 5 columns. Okay, now suppose if I want to give the headings for my table, or suppose if you are creating a table for students with their respective marks, so you want one column to contain the name of the students, second one their roll numbers, third one their marks. So for that, to give the headings, I will use something as table header. Okay, so I will say heading 1. Right, just copy paste, and this will be heading 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this will be my separate row in which I will say about my headings. So I will end my first row over here, and now this will become my second row. Fine, so what I did over here, in my first line I will have the table heading saying heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I will have the second row, close it, second row will have these columns, and my third row will have these columns. Okay, just save it, go to browser, refresh it. So see, this is your headings, this is your first second row with the columns, and this is column at row 2. Fine, so this was a table. Now you can customize your tables the way you want. You can give more rows, you can give their borders nicely. Different types of sizes are there, different styles are there. But most of the web developers or web designers, they don't go for using tables. Actually, most of the time they go for something known as divs, which looks like this. Okay, div starts and div ends. Okay, so we don't use divs, we will use the columns for that. So what actually is a div? Actually div will be all these small sections, or you can say a single block. Okay, this heading 2, this whole section will be another div, this will be another div, this 4 5. So here if you want to draw this row using divs, you might have to use 5 divs, different divs. It might look odd or complicated, but it's an advanced stuff. When you are good at the basics, then not a big problem to understand the concept of div. We'll see about divs in the upcoming tutorials, but for this video that's it, and thanks for watching.